Hello and welcome to the webinar series. I'm Hui Ling, your host for today. Today's session is titled Running Effective Searches on Wiley Online Library, presented by Alejandra Basiela, Customer Success Training Manager at Wiley. Alejandra Basiela is a Customer Success Training Manager for John Wiley & Sons. She currently manages the Global Training Program for Wiley Research. Previously, she worked as a product manager for the Wiley Researcher Academy and marketing manager for author marketing. During her 10 years at Wiley, Alejandra also worked as an editor and project manager for textbooks and online courses. Alejandra is based in New York City. Today's webinar is expected to last about an hour and will be recorded. The recording will be made available after the session has ended, and a link will be emailed to you. As always, we welcome questions from the audience. Please feel free to send through your questions anytime via the Ask a Question button located underneath the main video player, and stay with us till the end of the presentation for the Q&A session. Over to Ale, who will begin her presentation now.
Thank you so much, Hui Ling, for the warm welcome. My name is Ale Barciela, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. Thank you so much in advance for finding some time to learn more about the Wiley Online Library and how to run better or more effective searches. I know our calendars are typically very busy for webinars, so I appreciate your time in advance. As Hui Ling was mentioning, we would love some questions. So if at some point something is not clear, or perhaps I'm going too fast, please feel free to put any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them on a timely manner. Having said that, I'm going to show you the agenda that I have prepared for today. So very briefly, I'm going to talk about the content available that you can find within the Wiley Online Library. Of course, that's going to depend on your different subscriptions and the subscriptions that your universities or institutions may have, but I want to do a quick overview about what content you could expect to find. Also, what's in it for me, right? What are the benefits of relying on these resources? And then we're going to move to the live demo. So we're going to be working on how to run effective searches. I'll start with a basic search, and then we're going to move into a more complex type of search, showing some Boolean operators, which are really fascinating and fun to use. And then also save a search, setting up an alert for searches. These are the type of features that perhaps are a little bit more unknown, or for users, it's something that you may not realize, but I really believe that could save you a lot of time. So if there's one or two takeaways today from this session, would probably be to go back to the Wiley Online Library, find a journal that you like, run a search that is relevant to you, and set up an alert for that, because it could save you a lot of time. We're also going to take a look at how to search within specific journals or book titles too. All right. So having said that, a quick look at the content available within the Wiley Online Library. The Wiley Online Library is the platform that hosts all the content, all the research content that Wiley publishes. In this, universe of content, we have over 1,600 peer-reviewed journals, which amounts to 8 million articles. Then over 20,000 online books, over 200 multi-volume references. These are pretty much like digital encyclopedias. And also 18 different current protocols, 13 different databases. Many times people get surprised to learn that we actually cover over 100 different categories or disciplines. These on the screen are just a few. And as you can see, you find disciplines as different as medicine or social sciences, chemistry, environmental sciences, humanities. I would need many hours to show you different examples for each of the categories, but hopefully during today's session, I'll be able to show you different examples that are different enough for you to realize the richness and the variety of the content we find. And just in case you're wondering, how can this be helpful to me, right? Either if you're a faculty member or a librarian or a researcher or a student, how can you leverage these resources to help you with your goals, with your careers, with your interests? Well, the first thing that you may want to do with the journals that you have access to or online books, if your university or institution is subscribed to them, is of course to look up high quality scientific content related to a particular keyword or topic, right? Of course, nowadays there's a lot of information on the internet, many times for free, but how much of that information is reliable? And that's the importance of relying on peer-reviewed journals and a very established publisher like Wiley, which is one of the top 5 academic publishers around the world. Then, of course, another use of benefit of the Wiley Online Library resources is to help you stay up to date with what is published in your area of expertise. If I want to, for instance, position myself as an expert in e-learning or training, right? I may want to be aware of, the latest technologies that there are out there for training or for teaching. If I go to a conference and I'm going to be presenting, I may want to be prepared for any potential questions, right? So reading often will help us stay up to date. And for this, the alerts are really excellent. There are a couple of different alerts. One type of alert is to follow a specific journal. So every time the journal publishes something new, you're going to be let know, you're going to receive an email telling you, hey, there's probably here an article that you're interested in or a new issue. And also the alerts for the saved searches, which we're going to see later on. So again, a great way to stay updated, position yourself as an expert. Along these lines, discovering trends in content. For instance, if you are a researcher and you are in the middle or getting started with your research, and perhaps you're not quite sure about where to head next or how to frame your research and your research question, how to formulate it, you may want to look into what your readership, your ideal readership would be interested in. Obviously, this is a very obvious example, but right now there's a high demand for all the content related to COVID-19 or coronavirus. Of course, that doesn't mean that suddenly we're all going to become experts or try to publish something related to that. Of course not. But try to be on the shoes of the readers that we want to reach through our article or manuscript and see where their interests, where the demand could be. I like to say that in order to be a good writer, you need to be a good reader too. And familiarize yourself with the content that they may be interested in too. Of course, this is not only interesting to those who are authors or are thinking about publishing. Also, if you are attending class or you're a student and you want to prepare lectures or presentations, or for faculty members that are presenting at a conference and they want to rely on reliable sources, you can also use the Wiley Online Library for that purpose, of course. One of the most important things we want to do with this content is to cite it. So I'll point out how to do that during the presentation as well. And in general, this is a tool that could help you advance your career as a researcher, faculty member, librarian, or expert. So hopefully you see yourself represented on this page and you find some benefits here for you. All right, so we're going to move to the portion of the live demonstration, which is really the most exciting part of the presentation. We're going to take a look at some basic search, starting with the homepage. We're going to see how to browse and how to use the search bar to run searches. Take a look at the filters as well. Filters are our friends. They're going to help us reduce the number of results that we get. You're going to get surprised because you're going to see sometimes thousands of results, and we really need to use filters or advanced search to narrow down the search and narrow down the results and really find those relevant to us. And then we're going to move to the advanced search, introducing multiple keywords, using Boolean operators, which are really fun to play with. Also do a search within a journal, which could be quite interesting, and saving a search and accessing previously saved searches and setting up alerts. So a lot to cover, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have time to go through all these in the next 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll make sure to have time for questions. I see some questions already coming up, so feel free to submit them at your own pace, and then we'll have some time to go through them. All right, so having said that, I'm going to go to the live environment and share the Wiley online library page, which I think you should be able to see momentarily. Yes, okay, excellent. So this is the Wiley online library homepage. Pretty straightforward, right? The first thing that I can see is the search bar here. The search bar, it has an autocomplete feature. So it means that if I start typing a word like Bitcoin, it should help me, right? So it's already understanding that I'm about to type Bitcoin, and it's offering me a book related to this, right? So that's kind of convenient. If you forget, you kind of remember the name of a journal, but not the full, the full title, right? It could help you locate resources faster. And in this case, I'm just going to type a word and run a search and see what content I receive. Before I do that, I want to point out something else on the homepage, if that's okay with you. Something that comes up very often is questions about COVID-19 related research. So just to let you know that we built a page exclusively featuring all the COVID-19 and coronavirus resources. So if I click here on this button, it takes me to a separate page in which I can read all the research that Wiley has ever published related to coronavirus or COVID-19. I must say that temporarily, all this research is available to all users and readers around the world at no cost. This is free access, and this is our way to support the scientific community. So if you're interested in this topic, or if it's relevant to your job, please feel free to explore this page. You'll see the most recent articles featured first. And even if you scroll down a little bit, on the right side of the screen, you'll see different links about travel advice, advice for public, even government links, and even publisher links. I think we have here a couple of other publisher sites like Elsevier and Springer Nature, because we really wanted to build a page that is helpful to you, right? Like all the resources on the same place. So we hope this is useful to you. I'm going to close this tab and go back to where I was on the homepage. And if I scroll down, something else that is related to the basic type of search would be browsing by subject. So why or when is this helpful? This could be helpful if maybe it's my first or second time on the Wiley Online Library, and I'm not quite sure about what I want, or maybe I've already been on the Wiley Online Library page, but I simply want to know what type of content there is out there. So I could, for instance, come to Earth, Space, and Environmental Sciences, and perhaps select Earth Sciences. And the platform now is going to run a search. It's first going to present me with some topics, right, related to this theme, and then show me all the content available, all the books, all the encyclopedias, all the journals related to this. So this is a good way to just get acquainted with content if I don't have a keyword in mind, right? Let's say that I want to learn more about geophysics, which I see here on the list. I simply click, and the platform is now going to push results related to this topic. So I see over 100,000 articles and chapters related to this topic, and almost 200 publications. And publications would include books and journals. How do I know that? Well, I see here on the filters that I have 166 books related to geophysics and 28 journals. So again, this is a good way to just familiarize yourself and see what you have, right, about this topic. A question that I get asked very often is, well, if I do that, how do I know if I have access to this content? Well, that's a great question and very relevant nowadays because we're all working remotely, right? So maybe there's an extra challenge right there. The first thing that you need to make sure is authenticate remotely. So in my case, I want you to notice that on the center, on the top center of my screen, you can read Access by Wiley. That is the first confirmation that I get that I was able to access remotely to the Wiley Online Library page because, you know, I'm working remotely, I'm working from home like many of us are doing nowadays. So I need to first authenticate myself as a user. And once you do that, you should get some type of message on the top indicating access by and the name of your institution. I also see that on the top right corner, I have Alejandra, my name, right? So this is because I logged in here. This is the way that I am using to authenticate remotely, just by introducing my credentials on the Wiley Online Library. If you have an account with the Wiley Online Library, this is a great way to authenticate and also save your searches and set up alerts. If you don't have an account, you may want to create an account. And this is something that it's obviously at no cost. Your account is going to be preserved there, indefinitely. And it takes a couple of minutes just to set it up. Wiley also supports other type of authentications, multiple, which you can find on the homepage. I'll show you where. VPN and IP recognition and others, right? So you should be fine. And if you have questions, feel free to contact your main librarian because they're always going to be there for you and they're going to be the ones explaining which type of preferred authentication your institution may have. So having said that, I want to run a search with you using the search bar. I could do this from this screen. Anytime, as long as you see the search bar on the top, you could type any keywords and run a search. And obviously, you can also do that from the homepage. So I'm actually going to go to the homepage by clicking on the top left corner. And here, introduce keywords, right? So let's say that I am interested in anthropology. I'm going to pick different topics here. So if I'm interested in anthropology, and I start typing, and as I was mentioning before, it's already giving me some suggestions. It's already giving me some journals and even author names. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and run my search, but I could certainly just pick one of these journals and explore them. I'm running this search, and wow, I have almost 300,000 results, which is probably too many. So I'm going to do a couple of things. The first thing that I want to do is introduce a second keyword. In this case, I'm interested in learning more about anthropology in India. So for that, I'm going to use a Boolean operator, which is AND. This Boolean operator, always capitalize, right? Always capitalize. What it does is show me results where I have both keywords, anthropology and India. So let's compare and see what I got now. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass again. And now I'm reducing considerably my number of results because I'm being more specific, right? Instead of 300,000, I have 37,000, which is still a lot. I'm going to want to use more filters. I'm going to want to be more precise with my criteria, but it's a good start. I want to take a look now on the filters on the left. The first filter that we see is the publication type. So I see results depending on books, journals, and reference works. Let's pick journals. By just clicking on journals, then I'm already applying that filter. And if you wonder how to keep track of filters, they're always going to be featured on the top left corner, right? So I see apply filters, and the first filter I have applied is journals. Then the second filter that I see is publication date. So if I want to see something that has been published in a certain time range, or the last week, because I want to see what's the latest, or the last year, well, I could pick that, right? So I see a number of options here. In my case, I want to give myself some margin here. So I'm going to pick last 2 years. But again, we see that I'm already considerably reducing the number of results just by going to 2000. If I look at the next filter, is the open access filter. How is this relevant? Well, keep in mind that all the articles published in open access, you should always be able to access those and read them, access the full text, regardless of your subscriptions. I'm not going to get into the details of this, but generally, there are two main type of journals, either subscription journal, which requires a subscription by the reader or the institution the reader is affiliated to, or open access, which would charge a small fee to the author or the institution the author is affiliated to, but then any reader around the world is able to access at no cost the content. So any content that is published in open access, you should never have any issues accessing the full text. I want you to notice here that above each title, we have the type of article. So this is review article. And next to it, you see a little padlock indicating things like full access, and the padlock is open. Well, that's going to be another indicator to let you know if you have access to that resource through your institution or not. Again, make sure that you're authenticated and you're able to access remotely via VPN or any other preferred authentication method to your institution to really make sure that you're accessing all the subscribed content. But once you do that, you should be able to see little icons indicating free access or full access or open access, all of which should lead you to the full text. The next filter that I see is related to subjects. This doesn't mean that they are the only subjects we have available, but they're just some, filters or subjects to guide you in the search. So obviously I have a lot of results related to anthropology because that's actually one of my keywords. But I also see other filters like agriculture, archaeology, architecture, business and management. So this filter could be good if I want to explore a topic or a keyword through different angles. Even if I click anthropology, I want you to notice that we have a number of subtopics. So that could help me guide my search as well. And further down, we have two more topics. One of them is published in. This is gathering the results by different journals. Many times you'll see that there are a few journals that have published several articles related to one topic or certain keywords. In this case, I see the Journal of the Royal Anthropological Institute or American Anthropologists or others here, right? This is a great way for me to identify some journals that could be interesting for me, and even set up an alert in one of these journals. If I notice that there's a journal publishing a lot about a topic, I definitely want to keep that on the radar, right? And the final filter is authors. which again is interesting if you're doing literature, research of the literature. You may want to consider reading a little bit more the work of certain authors. I see here that there are multiple authors that multiple times published about this topic, so I may want to look closer into that. I want to open one of these articles. So for instance, I'm going to pick this one randomly and clicking on the article. And this is interesting, right? Because of course, some of you may be wondering, well, you typed India on the search bar, and now I'm seeing Russian. What happened there? Well, I know what happened. What happened is that the search that we were running was, let me go back, was a type of basic search. So what the platform does is looking for these two keywords anywhere in the article. So it could be the title, it could be the abstract, it could be the keywords, but it could be, as long as the word anthropology or the word India both appear anywhere in an article, it would be a valid result. So if the word anthropology is appearing in page number 13 in an article that is 50 pages long, and also the word India, right, in another different page, just mention one, that would be a valid result. So that's the importance of going to the advanced search. That wouldn't happen if we do the advanced search. So let's go to the advanced search and try this differently. To go to the advanced search, you have two ways. One would be by clicking on the search bar and then clicking advanced search. Another way would be on the home page, just directly below the search bar, going to the advanced search button below the magnifying glass. So let's do that. Once I get here, I have multiple bars, which means I can introduce different terms. So here I'm going to put India, and I'm going to put anthropology. And here I'm given the chance to determine the criteria. If I want one word to be part of the title, if I'm looking for an author name, if I want it to be part of the keyword field or the abstract, or also look up author affiliations or funding agencies. In this case, for instance, I'm going to put it in the abstract, and anthropology, I can put it in the keyword field. Please note that I could even add a name of a journal here. So if I happen to know a journal like Anthropology News, I could add it here, and then I would be looking just for results of articles published by Anthropology News, which is a journal. I'm not going to do this right now, but I just want to let you know that you could do that through the advanced search. You could also filter by date before running the search, or apply the filter later. I'm going to go ahead and click search. And as you can see now, I have fewer results, which is good actually. As long as you get a decent number of results, it's good because they're all more relevant. In this case, less is more, right? So all these results are including the word India in the abstract and anthropology on the keyword field too. Similarly, I could apply some filters here, the filter journals, and this is showing me different articles published by journals. And of course, the word India is appearing on the title because that was my requirement, and the word anthropology should appear on the keyword field, right? So that's how it works. If we compare the number of results, it's really interesting to see. I want to go back to, actually, one of the things that I want to do here is show you how to save a search. So imagine that this is a search that is relevant to you because it's related to a project or your discipline or a class that you're teaching, and you want to know what's being published about this. I may want to click here on right below the 42 results, save search, the star, right? The little star that we see. Why? Well, there's two benefits of doing this. The first one is to be able to quickly access and run this search next time I go into the platform. So if I don't access the platform that often, Or if I do, but I want to save time, I could just save it on my searches, and just one click, it's going to go ahead and replicate the search without me having to type the keywords and change the criteria. I'm going to click there. The first thing that I see is that a window comes up and it's telling me to save this search, putting a name of my choice. This is totally private. It's just for me to remember what this search is about. So I can put anthropology and India, and perhaps I put the date just to remember a little bit more about when I started this search, but this is personal. And then the second benefit, and the second thing that is asking me here, is to alert me. So this is a major benefit, because I don't have to remember to come here and run a search. I'm immediately going to be notified if I get a new result matching this. I think we had about 90 something results. Let me see. Oh, 42 actually, right? So 42. As soon as I have 43, I'm going to be sent an email indicating, hey, Ale, you have one more result here that may be of interest to you. So I could, so to speak, forget about running this search, knowing that I'm going to be able to stay updated if there's anything new. If you're concerned about too many emails, you could modify your alerts to make them weekly, meaning one weekly email tops, or one monthly notification tops, or even never, meaning I save my search, I could access my search with one click, but I'm not gonna be bothered with emails. At any point, you can come back here and modify your preferences. So, you know, don't feel free to experiment with it. I'm gonna click here on Save Search. And now some of you may be wondering, how do I go back to a saved search once I do that? That's a quick question. So at any point or from the homepage, if you go to the top right corner, you should be able to access your account. If you have not logged in, you will see something like login or register. In my case, I already logged in because it was my preferred way of authenticating and get access remotely. Again, it's totally for free and very quick to create an account with the Wiley Online Library if you don't have one. That's a way to save your preferences and personalize the experience. And then once you do that, you can go to My Account. And My Account is useful for three different things. One is Save Searches, which you can see on the menu on the left. You see them at the very end of that menu, Save Searches. And then we have Favorites and Manage Alerts. So let's go to Save Searches. And actually, there you go. My first, the first search that I see is the latest one that I just saved today, right? And then I also see other searches that I saved in the past. So I actually have, let's see, another search here related to energy and food, and it's actually related to an encyclopedia, which I love, that is called Ullman's. So if I want to replicate that search, I could just click here, and I didn't have to type anything. It just ran the search for me. I don't have to remember what was the criteria that I used. It's just showing me the results based on what I decided that first time. So quite helpful. And if at some point, you know, you're not interested anymore, you could click here and delete on the icon, on the trash icon on the right side. You can just delete this. So that's fine. Let's go back to the searches. I want to show you another type of alert to help you stay updated, which is the journal alert. So imagine that you run a search and you notice a journal that is really interesting to you and is something that you want to check more often, right? In this case, I'm going to find, I know what I want, so I'm just going to type it. And I'm looking for the journal, American Journal of Physical Anthropology. So as you can see, it's already giving me the suggestion, and I'm going to go for it, selected. And right now, I am on the journals page. All journals pages, even though they may be slightly different in terms of the banners or the images, they all have the same elements. I see the banner here featuring the title of the journal, American Journal of Physical Anthropology, the latest issue in the top right, and also useful information like the impact factor, who the editor-in-chief is or are, and the position in the ranking by Clarivate Analytics of journal citation reports. So I can actually see that this particular journal is very well positioned on the anthropology ranking, and also good position in the evolutionary biology discipline too, right? So that gives you an idea of the reputation of a journal. And further down, you may find information about journal overview, most recent, most cited. Here on the right, I don't want you to miss it, here on the right, we have submit an article, browse free sample issue, and get content alerts. So this is the second alert that I really want to talk about today, because similarly, once I find a journal that is great for me and it's really publishing information that is relevant to my job or my research, I may want to subscribe to these content alerts. So you can click here, and automatically, again, every time I kind of customize or personalize this experience, I'm going to be taken to my account to kind of confirm the information, right? So this is showing me, hey, Ale, you have a new alert, and I can see it here. This is the alert that I just subscribed to. So every time this journal publishes something new, they're going to send me an email indicating that there's a new issue, there's a new article. A great way to stay updated. Let's go back to the advanced search because I want to show you more about Boolean operators. Okay. So in this case, I want to combine keywords using different Boolean operators. We've used and before, but I also want to show you or and not. A great way to get started is the search tips on the right side. So here you can see a lot of information about Boolean operators. There are three main Boolean operators, which are and, which is going to include terms and narrow down your search because you're being more specific, more precise. We also have or, which is going to give you more options. You're presenting alternatives. Or not, which is going to exclude a keyword from your search. A good example could be if I'm looking for information related to the environment and related to climate change. Because climate change, I have it here. Climate change, there are two words actually, not one. I may want to put this between quotation marks. Why? Because this is going to help me, make sure that all the results include these two keywords in that specific order. If I don't put the quotation marks, then I will have the word climate in one place, and then maybe on a different page or a few paragraphs down, I'll have change, and that will be considered a valid result. But if I put them between quotation marks, they're going to stay together in exactly that order. And then nowadays we talk about climate change, but we also talk about global warming. Perhaps, sometimes we use these terms to refer to the same phenomenon or not. I'm not an expert, but if I'm equally interested in learning more about this topic, I may want to expand my options, and say, or, always in caps, global warming, no? And now I could run the search. So this is going to expand my number of results because I'm accepting both as valid. Let's run the search and see what we get. We have 165,000 results, which is really great. And I see my keywords highlighted in blue. I'm sure I could do more work here with filters or even, refining my search. I could click on refine search and say, you know what, anywhere is not good enough for me. I actually want this to be on the title. So this is obviously going to bring this down by a lot. I'm going to remove this just in case. And let's compare. So I have 165,000. Let's see what happens now when I tell the platform I want my keywords to be on the title. Obviously, way less, way fewer. So we have 10,000 results now. So you can get an idea. And again, this refine search button is great to stay on this page and modify the current results you have here. Alternatively, I could say not. What does it mean? It means that I only want the words climate change to appear. I don't want any mentions to global warming. This is obviously going to reduce my number of results. Let's go ahead and run this search. And instead of having the 165,000 results I was getting before, now I'm getting a few less, right? So this is how it works. And this Boolean operator not could be really helpful to get rid of some noise. You know, if you have some similar keywords that are really related to another discipline and are pushing results that are not related to what you want, you may want to experiment with this. Another Boolean operators, they're wildcards, they're related. I want to show you the asterisk. So here on the search tips, we have the wildcards. And this is telling me about the question mark and the asterisk. So here, for instance, if I am interested in a word, but you know, they give me the example of woman or women, which is a great example. I don't mind if the word women appears as a singular or plural. I'm equally interested in both. I could do this. And what's happening is that the question mark is replacing any character. In this case, obviously, the characters that I have in mind is either a or in, no? Plural or singular for women. But this could be great if I'm looking for something in particular. And again, I'm flexible with the character. Or sometimes if it's a word that could be spelled in different ways. Similar to that, we have the asterisk. The asterisk, however, is even more interesting because it replaces multiple characters. So imagine that I'm interested in immunity, but actually I'm also interested in immune or any other related words. I may just want to do this, and it's going to show me words that start with that. Let's see if I can see a few examples here by putting this on the title and show you how it works. So here I can see immune, immunization, immunodeficiency. This seems to be in German, immune, immunodeficiency. So it's really interesting, and it can give you flexibility when it comes to searching. So now that we have this kind of fresh in our heads, I would encourage you to, go to the Wiley Online Library, check out the alerts, save some searches and set up some alerts, and play with the Boolean operators and see what you find, because I believe you may be surprised. So this is all about Boolean operators. I think we're about to make a pause for questions. There's probably one more thing that I just want to show you before doing that. So let me find you let's go to this article and let's go to the journal, because I want to show you how to do a search within. So let's see, if here I'm looking for, imagine you find an article and you're really interested in this article. You may want to go to the journal page, right? So I could go and click on the banner. And here on the search bar, if you click here, let's see. There you go. I have a drop-down menu here. If you select anywhere, you're running a search from scratch, looking for any content published on the Wiley Online Library, all the books, all the journals, etc. If you stay on this journal, then you're only looking for results published by this journal, which is the Journal of Clinical Periodontology. So here, if for instance, I'm looking for, let's see, root canal. This is now showing me results where the keyword root canal is appearing, but only in articles that were published by this journal. This is great, again, if you're a big fan of a journal, if you're subscribed to the journal, if you're looking for something they may have mentioned about a topic in the past, right? And you still have the same filters on the left side to go through as well. All right, so I hope this was useful. This is a lot of me talking, so I'm gonna go back to check some questions. Let's see. All right, we do have a number of questions here, which is excellent. So I'm gonna go in order here. Let's see. All right. Okay, so I do have one question here about how to export citations. That's a really great question. So I'm gonna answer this now. Let me go back to the page. So if you're interested in, there you go. If you find something that you want to cite, there's a couple of places you can do that. Please note that every time you're in the results page, you could click on Export Citations. So I click here, and this is allowing me to export citations in bulk. If I just want one, that's fine, I can select one, but it allows you to select a number of results. And then, once I click, I'm just gonna click multiple here, I can click next, and it allows me to download this in different formats and different type of imports. If you have questions, you're not quite sure, please note that there's a citation help button here that you can click. It's going to take you to a new screen and give you more information about maybe the different types of formats, etc. Sometimes I get asked if this is compatible with Mendeley, and yes, this is, once you download the citation, you could also export it to Mendeley. This is ideal for those who are using different applications or software to manage citations. Another way of doing this is once you are within an article that you're interested in and you want to cite, you go to the Tools section. So it's right here, Tools. And this is going to allow you to do different things like add to favorites, track citation. We don't really have a lot of time to cover those today, but as you can see, we have Export Citation here. So if you click on that, it's allowing me to do a couple of different things. One is how to cite. And this is in APA style, for those who wonder. But once you download it, you could change it into other styles as well with your software. And it gives me the opportunity to download the citation here as well. All right, gonna go back to some questions. Okay. I have another question here. So how would we know if our institution is subscribed to Wiley? Well, my main recommendation would be to get in touch with your library, with your main librarian, because those are the ones who can walk you through all the resources, Wiley or not, that you have access to. Of course, we're happy to look into that. If you want to send us an email, we're happy to provide you with that information as well privately. I will be sharing my email address in a few minutes. So if there are any kind of like additional consultations, we can always take those offline and discuss via email. Another question that we have here is if there's a search history function that allows to combine searches. That's quite interesting. There is a search history function. I'm not quite sure about the aspect of combining searches. I'll be happy to talk more about that separately and see what you have in mind. But let's take a quick look on that. Just give me 1 second, please, to go back to the platform. All right. So if I go back to the results page, I did this very quickly before, but when you click on Refine Search, you have actually multiple tabs. One of them is Search History. So this is showing me my latest searches here, which is nice. If you're trying different things and you're not saving, you don't want to save them, you can go back and run them. It's as simple as that. I'm not quite sure if you're looking for something a bit more complex, like combining different searches in a different way, and I'm happy to take your consultation, your question via email later on, and perhaps experiment with the platform separately. All right, let's review more questions. Okay, somebody else is asking if we can get access to the full text in PDF. Yes, of course. And the question also includes, there is a request permission button. What does it mean? Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think in this case, let's take a look again at an example together because it's going to be easier to follow. So just give me 1 sec, please. And I'm going to find an example together. So imagine that I find a journal, this article from 1996. And maybe this is not great. Yeah, 1 second. Please. Let me find something better for you. Okay. All right. So you can read actually, you always have a button here called PDF. So when you click the PDF, that would give you automatically access to the PDF version, the full text. As long as you're subscribed to the journal, you should have no issues. Or even if it's open access or free access, you should have no issues. Normally there's 2 formats, HTML, which means the article is right there on the website, or is the PDF format. So maybe this wasn't a great example, but the experience wouldn't change. No, it's still going to a PDF, and then you can review it, download it, and you don't need to request any permission to access the full text if you're already subscribed, right? If you're not subscribed, you may want to talk to your main librarian, and maybe they can arrange getting access to that particular book or that particular journal. Your question also referred to request permission. I would say that, so if you are going to be using that content, if you're citing, you should cite it the right way. I don't think you need to request any additional permission. That would be for other cases. And I think they provide additional information here. So let me show you these very quickly, just to explain the audience what you're referring to. This is the request permission, right? So these may cover other cases beyond citing the content, maybe more specific. I know they go back very quickly with responses. So if you're planning to use this content in a different way that is not like a straightforward citation, you may want to reach out to this email address, and they can give you more information about if you need a special permission or not. But typically you wouldn't, and you are able to access the PDF directly without any issues. All right, let's see what other questions we have. I know we're approaching the end of the session, so I want to try to cover as many as possible. Yes, another question is if there's any subject searching. I believe we covered this at the very beginning. So on the actual homepage, when you go to the homepage, if you scroll down a bit, you find the search by subject, which is what I did with earth sciences, I believe. So that's a great way not to add any keywords. If you just want to see what's out there published by Wiley related to one topic, you can do that from the homepage. So hopefully very, very straightforward. Going through some other questions. Yeah, And yeah, some other questions are about how to access full articles. I believe I already covered this, but again, feel free to check either with us if you are not quite sure about what you have access to, and we're happy to look into that, or your main librarian, which is going to be able to tell you this is the list of all the journals we're subscribed to that are part of Wiley. And again, really important to know how to access remotely to these resources, because you may have access, but if you're not doing that authentication correctly, you may run into an issue trying to access the full PDFs. What an email alerts look like? Yeah, that's a great question. The email alert is very simple. It's not going to include the full text. It's just going to tell you the name of, I believe it's just the name of the article and a hyperlink for you to click and go into the Wiley Online Library and then access the actual article or the PDF, however you want to do it. But the email itself is very, very simple. Yeah, and again, some questions about content. If you happen to have access to some content with your institution, but not all the content, again, the best way to address that is by talking to your librarian, and then they are able to arrange and maybe, get additional access to other resources and discuss that with you or other faculty members who may be interested. Okay. Yes, I believe another question is about modifying the saved searches. Yes, so you could modify those. If you run a saved search and you make any modifications on the criteria and click save again, then that's going to be captured. So that would be the easiest way to modify the criteria. Just running the search, going to your saved searches, running the search, and then saving it again once you modify the criteria in any way you want. So you don't have to retype it again. No, it will save you more time. Yeah, another question here is about the importance of the quotation marks, right? That's quite interesting. Again, as I was saying, the quotation marks are going to help us keep different words that are part of like the keywords, which, keywords could have multiple words within, stay together. So I can run an example just like the before and after if you want to see how they work. Just let me do this real quick. So if I run a search here, and again, if I want something like, let's see, I think root canal was an excellent example, right? So imagine I do root canal without the quotation marks. I'm going to get 49,000 results, and they may be related to my interest or not. They may be related to other topics. Actually, if you look into the subjects, I have results here related to anthropology, agriculture, archaeology, right? I'm not quite sure all the results are talking about what I want. So almost 50,000. And now if we put this between quotation marks and run it again, 5 times less, no? 11,000. So that would be the importance of, however, if you put too many words, you don't want to put a phrase or a question, right? Because that's gonna lead you to very few results or non-results. So you want to be cautious about the number of words that you put within quotation marks. All right, let's see other questions that we have here. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to go through all of them. Actually, we really have great engagement, so I may have to address those individually if that's okay with you, because I know we're approaching the end of the session and I want to be respectful of your time. So let me actually go back to my slides and share with you my email address. Oh, before that, I do that very quickly. Two resources I want to share with you. For those who are authors or want to be authors and publish your manuscript with Wiley or even other publisher, you have here some amazing resources. So this page is featuring the Wiley Online Library Training Hub. You have a user guide, some short videos, more information that is covering the things that I've covered today. So if you need additional support, keep in mind that you can access this resource. We also have the page about COVID-19 information, authentication and remote access support for those who wonder, maybe they're not quite sure about how that works. This is a great resource for librarians too. And also a new video giving more information about federated access, open ASCEND, and Shibboleth. Again, perhaps more suitable for librarians who are administrators of these type of resources. For those interested in learning more about how to publish, Author Services is a place that Wiley set up. Pretty much all the information we have here is available for free. This is just a place to show you how publishing works, the different stages or aspects that you could find within, how peer review works, what to expect, how to prepare your manuscript, how to promote your articles. You'll find different tools here featured, but again, most of the information and tips are for free. So I would encourage you to check this out because it's really helpful. And for those who want to go the extra mile, we also have Wiley Editing Services, which is, most of them are paid additional services, but in the event of if you need a professional video or writing services or creation conference posters or infographics, these are services that Wiley provides as well. So again, feel free to check them out. And as promised, this is my email address, abarciela@wiley.com. I know I wasn't able to answer all the questions. We really have a great attendance today. I'm so grateful for your time and your attention. And I'm afraid I couldn't answer them all, but I'll get back to all of you. But again, feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions. And Hui Ling, I think that's all with me. I don't know if there's anything else that we want to address perhaps before saying goodbye.
Yeah, so I want to thank Ellie for joining us for the webinar and also to the audience for joining us as well. I hope the audience find this information useful, and we will share the questions with Ellie as well so that we can have it answered. And have a good day ahead, everyone, and see you at our next webinar. Goodbye.